Hello, boys and girls. So this week we've been talking about asking and answering questions. And we've gotten a little practice in on that this week. You should have practiced with me in small group. And you should have practiced when you were doing your work so far this week. And we're going to continue doing that today. So you can ask questions before you read as well. So whenever you are thinking of questions to ask yourself, you can take a picture walk through the book. And if you don't know what a picture walk is, it means that when you're having your story, when you have your story that you're going to be reading, you flip through and you look at the pictures. So you literally take a walk through the pictures and look at them. And while you're looking at the pictures, see if anything pops out at you or stands out to you. Think about what you already know about the story based on the title and after you look at the pictures. So we're going to practice doing that with this little story. So I haven't read this story to you yet, but if I just look at the pictures, I see a bear. Looks like he's walking up to this bird, and the bird is on the ground. And it looks like his nest is up here, and there's a tree. So using what I know about birds, I know that that's probably the bird's nest. And I don't know if that bear looks friendly or not. We'll have to read and see. So if I was going to come up with a question, I would ask, is the bear friendly? Or is the bear going to hurt the little bird? Which I hope not. But that's what I would probably ask. Or I might ask, why isn't the bird in its nest? So you can ask questions before you read, and it kind of gets your mind thinking about what you're going to be reading about. And that way, it helps you focus while you read. Okay. And then you can start writing your questions. So when you're writing your own questions, there are a couple of rules. They must start with a question word. So we talked about those question words. And they must end with a question mark. So if I took a picture walk through a book that I was reading and I saw a picture of a character and their face looked really sad, I might write a question that looked like this. Why is the little girl sad? So my question word is why. And my question mark would go at the end of my sentence. So why is the little girl sad? And I wouldn't know the answer to that until I read the story. Okay. So what I'm going to have you all do after I read this story to you is I want you to pick 3 different question words, 3 of these words, and write 3 questions that you have after we read this short story. And you can do this in your writing journal, and I'll do an example with you after we read. All right, so let's read this story. We already took our picture walk. We already thought about what we know about bears and then what we know about birds and their nests. It was a beautiful spring morning, and Priscilla the bear decided to take a walk through the woods. She was enjoying the sunshine and smelling the flowers when she suddenly heard somebody crying. Priscilla looked around to see who was crying, so a question I might ask is, who was crying? She spotted a baby bird sitting on the ground next to a tree. She asked, why are you crying? The baby bird replied, I fell out of my nest, and I can't get back up the tree. Priscilla looked up at the bird's nest in the tree and said, I can help you, little bird. Now, she said that she was going to help the bird, but does that story tell us how she's going to help the bird? It doesn't, right? So if it's not telling us, we can use that to write a question. So if we go back to our question words, we have who, what, where, when, why, how, do, and which. So I'm writing this in my Google slide, but you all can write this in your journal. So this will be journal number 2. So I'll go ahead and write that at the top. Journal number 2. Journal 2. All right. So I have my journal 2 at the top. I'll make this bigger so you can see me. So we have journal 2 at the top. So if you need to pause this and write journal 2 at the top, you can. And we need to write some questions. We need 3 different questions. So I need to start with my question word and make sure I have a question mark at the very end. So do we know how Priscilla the bear is going to help the baby bird? No. So I'm going to say, I could say what, or I could say how. What is the bear going to do to help the bird? And then I'm going to put my question mark. So my first sentence says, what is the bear going to do to help the bird? And what I'm going to do, and what I want you all to do, when you're writing your questions, I want you to circle your question marks, and I want you to circle your question words to make sure that you have them. So if you go back and check yourself and you don't have those two things, you need to go back and add them, okay? Make sure you have your question word and your question mark, okay? Now, if you write your 3 questions and you want to make a prediction and tell me what you think is going to happen, you can do that. That would really impress me if you did that. You don't have to do that, but if you want to answer your own questions, you can. So say, what do you think the bear is going to do? Answer your own question. What would the bear do to help the bird? And you can make up your own. Okay? So you're going to write 3 questions. Now, if you're saying, Miss Hay, I can't think of any more questions for this story, then I want you to write a question about birds or about a bear. So if you have a question about what bears eat, what bears do, you could write those kinds of questions if you just can't think of any more questions, okay? Or you can write questions about a bird that you're interested in, all right? Just make sure that you write 3 really good questions and circle the question word and the question mark for me, okay? All right. Thank you all for listening. Friday, make sure that you turn in everything. If you don't want to tear out your writing journal, sorry boys and girls, my light kicked off. If you don't want to tear out your writing journal, then you can take a picture of it and send it to me on Remind. But if you want to tear it out of your journal, turn it in with your packet, that is completely fine with me too. I can't wait to see you all next week. Have a great weekend.